Year after Colorado's first preseason scrimmage, and Brian, we actually got to attend this. Appreciate Carl Durrell for letting us in. Now, he did say, don't talk schemes, which makes sense. You don't want to give anything away to the opponent, and we're not supposed to talk about injury. So it's more about the guys that stood out to us today and maybe some of the units. So we'll respect that because I'd like to get in here again.
Yeah, we appreciate Carl for, giving us that opportunity to come in and, those of us that cover it every day, hey, come out and watch us a little bit, but here's some rules. So, and I like that, Tad Boyle's kind of had that rule, for a long time since he's been the head coach for the basketball team. And so, I appreciate Carl for doing that. And, it was good to see. I think for us covering this team every day, it was good to finally just see what we're hearing about and see, okay, is what we're hearing about like true? What is it that's actually going on with this team? And so, while we can't maybe get into all the specifics, it was good to see and kind of helps us maybe cover this team a little bit better going forward.
I would say by and large it kind of fell in line with some of the things we're hearing. And again, we can't get into schemes, but it's going to be different than what we saw last year. The fans that came here to the spring game, I know they were maybe frustrated because they wanted to see fireworks. Well, we already heard Mike Sanford break down the fact that that's not going to happen. So it was good to see that. Starting at quarterback, JT Shroud had the throw of the day, a 30-yard touchdown to Brady Russell. Brady talked about the timing on that was beautiful. The ball was there, basically before he got open. So that was a big takeaway. What were your takeaways from the quarterback position?
Yeah, I thought that JT looked really good. I mean, I thought that throw was really good. And overall, Carl Durrell mentioned, hey, this was his first really live scrimmage since the day he got hurt last year. And so he was really pleased with him mentally that he was able to get through that. And it didn't really seem to bother him throughout it. So I thought JT looked pretty good. Brendan Lewis, it was kind of Brendan Lewis. I thought that nothing really stood out to me, but he did have a nice touchdown run, in this scrimmage and a short yardage play. I thought Drew Carter looked pretty good. I mean, I thought he was pretty sharp today. And Owen Mccown, he's not going to play this year, but that kid's got some zip on the ball. And once he grows up a little bit, and even Carl Durrell said he looks like he's still in high school. Yeah. He's not playing this year, but that kid, there's some moxie to him, and there's some zip to his ball.
He looks exactly like you would expect the son of a 18-year NFL vet. I mean, he definitely looks comfortable back there. And this was his first scrimmage at this level, and things were not moving too fast for him. Again, we can't get too ahead of ourselves, but Carl Durrell said he's battling for the third quarterback spot on this roster, which I don't know if it's a huge surprise. I think I would maybe still go with Drew Carter at this point. But, you hit on that quarterback, and they've missed on a lot of quarterbacks in the last – I mean, you're going back to Coy Detmer as the last quarterback that's drafted out of this program. I'm not saying Owen Mccown after one freshman scrimmage is going to be drafted, but he's got a bright future, it looks like.
Well, and for Buff fans, they hope that Owen McCown's not the next one. They hope that, it's Shroud or Lewis or Carter that's the next one, and not necessarily that they have to wait till Owen McCown. But, yes, based on what we saw and, saw him throwing after practice briefly the other day. He's got a strong arm, and he's got a lot of moxie to his game. I like him, and I think when he grows up, he's going to be a guy that can compete here and maybe be a pretty good player.
The running backs all seem to make a play or two. Dion Smith got into the end zone. Alex Fontenot in a goal line situation. Anything stand out there about you other than Charlie Offerdahl? He's clearly going to be a star on this team. And I say that jokingly, but that kid actually, it would not surprise me if Charlie Offerdahl is out there at some point in the game. He actually has got some game to him.
Well, and Carl Durrell, he was asked about Charlie, and he said he's going to play for us. Like he's got a role here. He just continues to show up when we see him and look pretty good. But I thought Dion Smith ran pretty well today. I thought Jaylee Stacks did some pretty good things today. He's clearly the big back there. I think if they use him, as a, sort of that short yardage big back guy, I like his role. I mean, I thought he ran pretty well. I thought the backs overall, Victor Venn had a couple plays that flashed a little bit that I thought, okay, wow, there's some skill there. He didn't flash the entire day, but I thought there was a couple plays where it was like, okay, there's something there. So I think this running back group might be pretty solid.
Montana Lamonius Craig made a few plays out there. If you were talking about offensive MVP, he'd be probably in the discussion there. We heard a lot about Jordan Tyson. He had one short catch, but Chase Sowell, another true freshman, again, you're talking about going against the 2s and the 3s, and Chase Sowell's not going to have a big role on this team, but another guy I think for the future that didn't have other Power 5 options that it seemed like this staff hit on him as well.
Well, yeah, and we're talking about a lot of young guys here, and I think that the big takeaway from that is that the future looks okay here. Is that they've got a quarterback that's a true freshman, looks pretty good. They've got some receivers that are true freshmen that are being talked about and that are flashing. And that may not be this year that we see Chase Sowell and Jordan Tyson and Owen Mccown, guys like that. But you look at the future, it's like, wow, there's some pretty good players here.
Another guy that's kind of forgotten that's not a young guy, and that's Maurice Bell. Had a ruptured Achilles last year, missed all of last season, back returning kickoffs, and is a guy that probably second line in terms of a second team receiver on this team that is probably going to make more plays than the casual CU fan is realizing at this point.
Yeah, I think he is one of those guys that's kind of forgotten, but I think he's going to have a bigger role than maybe people think. And, I think that we get caught up in the hype of like a Jordan Tyson and, some of those other guys that played last year as young guys. But I think Maurice Bell, the way he played today, like that could be your top three, top four receiver type of guy, and also return some kicks. I like him, and he's coming off the Achilles and didn't show it. I thought he looked pretty good today.
This isn't just based strictly on today, but my general feeling on the O-line is that this is a group that's going to be better than last year. It would be hard to be, frankly, as bad as they were last year. It's a group that has some good veteran leadership, a coach that they want to play for. I still don't think it's going to be a top half of the Pac-12 unit. I think that's a group that's still got to improve, and so I'm taking more of a wait-and-see approach there. I thought it was interesting. Alex Harkey and Luke Eckhart, a couple transfers that we expected because of their length to be tackles, were playing at guard today, so that was interesting. What were your overall thoughts with that group?
Yeah, first thing is that, they're missing two guys that they're expecting to be starters right now. Tommy Brown has not practiced yet, and we know that. That's been reported. Jake Wiley, Coach Terrell said today, has been out all week because of a concussion, so we didn't see either of those two guys. And so you see Casey Roddick and Frank Phillips still next to each other, but they were on that other side. And Terrell said they've been doing a little bit of that with everybody, kind of flipping sides and getting that versatility. But I'm curious where those guys are going to wind up and how much they'll play. He said Casey Roddick can play tackle as well, which is a testament to the work he's put in. He's much smaller now than he used to be. I think that group overall is going to be better. I'm just curious. I'm a little leery right now because they don't have everybody healthy, and they still have not yet had the five that we project as the starters, right? And we don't know who's going to be the starting center, but they've not had Wiley and Brown with that group yet. And so until they do that, until they show that, then it's hard to really, have a fair judgment of what this offensive line is going to be.
The offense won the red zone scrimmage. The defense had some moments today. Mr. Williams with a takeaway. The guy that just stood out today from an aesthetic standpoint is Nico Reed. He just flies around this football field. People have high expectations for him, and they should. He's continued to grow off last season.
Yeah, and I was chatting with him last week, I think it was, and it dawned on me while I was talking to him that he's the same age Christian Gonzalez was last year. So we talk about losing a Christian Gonzalez, and all of a sudden you're very young. They were the same. As far as Nico Reed aged last year to Christian Gonzalez, it's the same thing. I'm not sure Nico is going to be Christian yet, but you see the skills there, and that kid's a very talented corner, and they've got some guys on that team that can play corner. I think they're going to be okay there. Other guys, to me, I thought, Robert Barnes had some nice plays today. He made a couple, solid tackles today, and the defensive line, was solid at times. They were missing, a couple guys, key guys didn't play today, but Nico Reed's probably the one that stood out the most.
And we talked about him recently, Tyus Martin, a guy that wasn't able to participate in the spring due to his back. It seems like he's got a chance to work himself into the rotation on this defensive line. Chance Main has 1 year of eligibility to play here, a transfer from the FCS level. Looks like he's going to be part of the rotation there as well. And we didn't see a ton of him, but again, every time you see one of these scrimmages, Alvin Williams' speed off the edge really stands out, and he's a guy, if he can stay healthy, I think is going to have a pretty big role.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's a good thing that we're seeing that because at Media Day in L.A., Coach Terrell told me he was a little bit worried about him as far as he had some non-COVID illness going on about like when he would get back, and he's clearly back, and you like his potential.
All right, that's wrapping up the first preseason scrimmage. We'll be back with more analysis next week.